monsters infiltrated the world, causing it to succumb to despair. People fought until their last breath to safeguard the place they called home. Among those brave souls was the protagonist of this story, Carcillion Levendayan, who fought against the menace just as viciously. Many years passed with him battling countless monsters, relentlessly piling up dead bodies with the only blade he had, and not an ounce of fear in his heart. Then finally, a day came when he fought Aaron's brother from another mother. That bastard was one tough nut to crack. The battle was brutal, but he eventually took down the piece of shit. In the aftermath of the battle, he too succumbed to death. But fate had other plans. With his soul drifting through this endless void, he met a human boy hailing from some planet known as Earth. The boy's name was Seo Dujin, who was on the brink of death for some unknown reason. Before dying, he wanted to make a simple request to Vendian, who immediately refused. Even before listening to what this boy wanted to say. After all, bro just wanted to die peacefully. He was done with all the shit. He lost his country to the monsters, lost his loved ones, and eventually died a dog's death. While this boy, Seo Dujin, didn't really want to live either. He desperately wanted his family to have a good life. Well, it seems like Van Dien is finally ready to listen to this. Dude's request, the boy lights up like a kid in a candy store and musters up the courage to say, he wants his family to live peacefully. And so our boy gladly takes on the job to protect this boy's family and finds himself on Earth now, rocking the body of that teenage boy Dojin. Our guy is on a mission to infiltrate Namsen Gate, which is ranked C for obvious reasons. Only registered heroes are allowed to enter. So the automated machine keeps blaring at him to scan his ID card, which our guy obviously doesn't have. He simply crashes through the guarded and authorized building to enter the gate, triggering the security alarm blaring about the infiltration. Once inside, he starts walking around trying to find monsters to smash. That's when he stumbles across a party of heroes, folks who have official licenses and permission to be there. They assume our boy is someone who got lost and offer to show him the way out, especially since they're heading for the exit too. Dojin stays silent, giving off a weird vibe. Even these heroes can tell something's off. He's wearing casual clothes and doesn't look like a hero at all. Sure, porters nowadays dress more casually, but our boy's outfit is way too simple for its own good. And what's up with that bag on his back? For all they know, he's probably just a clueless porter who got abandoned by the party he originally came with. Then again, they're not so sure. Dejun finally speaks up, acknowledging why they're feeling super skeptical, but makes it clear he came here on his own without any hero's party. Hearing this, one of the heroes sighs, understanding the reason behind our boy's presence. He has seen plenty of cases where people catch a hard boner to become a hero and hunt monsters after watching some flashy TV commercials. But that burst of motivation can get someone killed real fast if they barge into gates recklessly without going through legal procedures. First, you need to get officially certified as a hero. Then you go through training and testing. Not to mention this gate is C rank for a reason. If you're a rookie just starting your career, you better go find an F rank gate before you lose your life for real. After listening to this dude yapping and generously handing out advice, no one asked for Dojin makes it abundantly clear he doesn't need shit. Naturally, the crew of heroes is bewildered by this kid, clapping back with such a cold tone. After all, they were just trying to help, so they get a bit pissed. But the leader tells his comrades to hold their horses. If the guy doesn't want help, then fine, leave him be. The leader is confident this kid will eventually learn the hard way. Why you don't cover your ears when someone wise is talking. They hope he finds out just how unforgiving these gates are, unlike the TV shows that glamorize being a hero, like it's the second coming of Christ. Soon enough, Dojin finally comes across a giant troll staring him down, ready to eat him alive. The monster unleashes an attack only to miss and hit the ground. Bro moved so fast, the troll couldn't even process what the hell happened. Then he balls up his fist and delivers a devastating punch, hard enough to blow the orc's face clean off. It's basically something out of one punch. Man, or Omni-Man on a killing spree. Now that the monster's out of the picture, here comes the juicy part. Time to loot, baby. First, he grabs the sword that bastard was carrying. Then he uses that same sword to dig further into the monster's body. But since he's broke right now, he's got no choice suddenly. More monsters swarm the area. Pissed after seeing their buddy decapitated, Dojin turns around and chucks the gemstone so fast, it literally blows one of their heads clean off. The other two dumbass charge in, like they got some death wish they want fulfilled, while Dojin's more than happy to grant it. While he's wrecking havoc, we cut back to the crew of heroes, trudging through this monster-infested territory. Currently, their minds are still stuck on the encounter they had with that young man. The orange-haired woman is actually worried about Dojin's well-being, fearing he might end up dead. But the leader of the pack assures her that's highly unlikely. If he is some unauthorized guy who barged into the gate, agents from the control center will find him soon enough. Those agents on missions are always B rank or above. And since this gate is C rank, there's no way in hell he's dying here. As long as the kid steers clear of recklessly rushing at monsters, he's got no chance of losing his life. The Baldy agrees with his leader's assessment. He's pretty sure the arrogant brat must be trembling in fear, waiting for the agents to save his ass from doom. Well, the story is pretty much the opposite. It's our guy, who's literally making these plus-sized sandbags shake in fear. One punch and the prey is down. He's so fast they can't even touch him, let alone crush him under the weight of their blades. He appears right behind one of the dumbass and delivers a kick so hard, it demolishes the guy's head. With all the suckers down, he grabs one of their swords and proceeds to harvest the sweet magic stones, all for himself. After a while, he's done stuffing his bag and ready to leave. Though honestly, he's pretty disappointed with today's grind. It's basically dead weight in his bag. All those low-grade gems, right? Then, one of the agent guys finally spots him and calls out to his buddies before our guy can fully turn. Those suited men give him a tough stare down. First, they explain they're from the gate control center and suggest he show his hero registration card. If he's unregistered, he has to come to the control center with them. Our guy isn't sure about that. The only response the suits get is annoyance, etched all over our guy's face. And all this unnecessary drama killing his mood. Then again, bro ain't got the energy to argue. He just turns to leave since words aren't working. The suits threaten handcuffs. If he refuses to comply, physical force may be used if necessary. One of the more impatient ones dares to grab our guy's hand and threatens him with the injuries he'll sustain if he refuses to cooperate. What's worse, all responsibility will be on his shoulders. So it's everyone's best interest to solve things with words. Not violence. Seems like Dojin's done with all the yapping. So he grabs that bastard's hand back and warns him to stop sticking out like a thorn in his path. This chilling warning makes the poor suit guy instinctively scared. A chill runs down his spine. The other two bastards pull out their magic-infused batons. They're actually grade 4 magic staffs, powerful enough to subdue an orc. But they don't have enough power to hurt our guy physically, so he aggressively twists the bastard hand, making him whine like the whiny bitch he is. Bro then issues a final warning. They better leave now, if they don't want to lose the last shred of dignity they have left. Eventually, duty-bound suits are forced to retaliate with violence. They try their best to tag our guy with the magic staffs, but none succeed. Our guy delivers a crushing blow right into the back of one bastard, then hits another in the belly. Next, he focuses on the guy in glasses, the last man standing. The last dude senses what's coming and gets tense. Dojin blurs away, vanishing into thin air, causing the bastard to panic at literally seeing a man disappear. Then out of nowhere comes a sneaky punch right into the gut, making the bastard stagger backward in pain. Seems like Dojin is tired of all the bullshit and agents chasing him. So he finally starts thinking about registering as a hero. After all, the agent assures him that as long as he avoids shady or illegal stuff, no agents will be out hunting him. Dojin then questions this thing called a rift, a question that completely throws the agent off. Quick context on how this world operates. There are multiple passages connecting to another world where strange monsters live. These passages are scattered across the world. Passages that aren't controlled or enclosed are known as rifts, accusing him of trespassing no matter which gate he passes through. The poor agent explains that If an unregistered hero enters a gate without permission, the control center is automatically notified, and agents waiting nearby are dispatched immediately. Since our guy is thinking about entering a rift, the agent makes it clear these aren't as easy to access as any gate. Trespassing into a rift results in a strict punishment. No warnings, no plea deals. Dojin isn't interested in hearing any of that, so he grabs the poor guy by the face and throws him aside like a trash bag. By now, the poor agent regrets not calling headquarters. This shit's way over his pay grade. Before leaving, Dojin takes one last glance at the trash agent lying there, thinking about what a weakling this dude actually is, promising to catch our boy and put him behind bars. The scene transitions to Seoul, Gas and Digital Complex in Gyeongju District. This giant building is now known as the Hero Complex. Here all trades related to magic stones, or anything found in the gates go down. And nowadays, this place is busier than ever. Dojin can be seen heading toward one of the stores that deals in buying and selling magic stones. Upon entering, he's greeted by this Gen Z bastard, busy scrolling through brain-rotting Insta-reels. When Dojin says he wants to sell some magic stones, the cunning shop owner immediately starts preaching about his business, claiming this branch offers the highest prices to their clients. He even goes as far as saying they're the best in the whole country. Dojin finally puts all the low-grade gems, smeared in monster blood, on the counter, causing the store owner to put on this sour expression, like he just got boned from behind. He's seriously grossed out by all the blood stuck to the stones. Regardless, he doesn't complain and moves forward with the transaction. Dojin is asked if he wants some coffee, while the stones are being processed. A little while later, he is sipping coffee, while the shop owner carefully cleans the blood off the stones. Afterwards, the owner calculates the total amount due. There are 12 low-grade magic stones, 16 medium-grade ones, plus 5 upper and lower-grade stones as well. After deducting a 40% commission, Dojin is set to receive around 5.5 million won well. Our boy isn't too comfortable handing over 40% as commission. It just feels unfair, because he did all the hunting and wasted his time. So how the hell does this bastard think he's entitled to nearly half the money? The shop owner proudly claims he's being generous, charging only 40%, especially since every competitor in this business charges 45% or more. He's so confident that he even offers Dojin to take his stones back if he doesn't like the price. After all, no one else will offer more. Or at least that's what this bastard claims. Our guy ain't falling for that trap and starts stuffing his precious stones back into his bag, seeing his tricks aren't working. The bastard grabs Dojin's hand before he leaves and demands compensation for the appraisal and the coffee he drank. It's 30,001 for the appraisal, plus an extra 10,000 for the coffee. Not to mention all the blood he had to wipe off, ruined his expensive towel. With everything added up, Dojun supposedly owes the guy around 350,000. Dojun isn't giving into these unreasonable demands, no matter how hard this crazy bastard pushes. Seeing nothing's working, the bastard stoops to street-level tactics and threatens Dojun with the C-class heroes he has as his guards. Right then, those big guys barge in through the back door, asking why they were called. If anyone's causing trouble, they're ready to deal with them. Dojin, in response, shoots a sharp glare at the bastard, who stares right back with the same intensity. A while passes, and the scene cuts to the terrified, sweaty face of the shop owner, who had been acting cocky like he was the main character. But he got a reality check when Dojin took down his 3 pigs, without breaking a sweat, making it clear who the real MC is. My guy then walks up to the counter and smoothly negotiates the commission down to 1%. No questions asked, we all know. There's no arguing when someone like Dojin is staring straight into your soul like that. So the deal goes through, and Dojin walks out with a fat stack of cash for the haul he collected with his sweat. Or rather, his fists. His grandma and sister are both in total awe at the huge amount of money. But the guy quickly clears that up, saying the money came from lending cash to a friend who started a business that ended up doing really well. Grandma isn't sure if her grandson even has a friend like that. He tries to convince Grandma with another lie, that it was a childhood friend. Eventually, Grandma stops asking questions, at least the big ones meanwhile, Dojin's sister is super proud of her big brother for making their family rich. The doting brother pats her and gives her hope about the luxury life they'll be living. From now on, the little girl just jumps around, happy to be rich, watching her so happy. Dojin realizes he's actually making progress, fulfilling a promise he once made. He remembers the words of the owner of the body he's possessing, whose one dying wish was for his grandma and his half-sister, Eun-young, to live safe and happy lives. That poor guy disappeared right before Do-jin could say anything. And when he woke up, he had become SEO Do-jin. Now his only mission is to make sure this little family lives safely and comfortably. For that, he wants to buy the safest house in Korea, which currently costs 110 billion won. For him, making money won't be an issue, as long as he gets his original strength back. This world shares a lot of similarities with the one he came from, the one that was destroyed. The only big difference is that Rift's gates, monsters here, are all marginally weaker than the world he once saw fall to him, who held the title of Sword God in his previous life. This place is nothing but a sandbox. So far, he's only been fighting at 1/10 of his original power. Suddenly there's a knock on the door, and the visitor says he wants to see SEO Dojin Bro, stands up and decides to answer. As he opens the door, he finds two thugs standing outside. These guys are here to claim a debt Dojin owes an insane 48 million. One seeing this, Dojin's sure these are loan sharks, the real CEO. Dojin borrowed money from before he left this world for good, though it was supposed to be just 5 million won. Originally for his grandma's hospital bills. These guys are charging crazy interest to demand 10 times the original amount. In no time, they know he's been making money through Gates lately, so they want him to cough up the cash, since it's all documented in the contract. But the only repayment these bastards get is a jaw-busting punch right in the big guy's face. That single punch sends the poor thug flying, leaving his partner with his jaw hanging in disbelief. Our guy then gives the scrawny bastard a deadly stare to remind him that over 9 million won has already been repaid. So if you do the math, these bastards should be paying him interest with another punch. That makes the bastard cry like a bitch. Dojin tells him to tell his boss that Dojin's coming to pay a visit. The scene then cuts to the shopping mall, bustling with life. There we see sweet little Eun-young lighting up, a kid in a teddy bear store. Dojin brought her here for a shopping spree. Today she's free to get anything she wants. You know, our boy wasn't always that soft-hearted Pookie in his previous life. It's the original Daejun's memories that revitalized his dry emotions. It makes his heart warm up to see how kindly Daejun treats Eun-young, even though she's only his half-sister. So he wants to keep doing the same, and make sure to give all the love he can muster for this little girl. The little girl finally chooses a stuffed toy she really wants. It's a small but cute bunny. She picks it modestly, making sure she's not being extravagant. But Dojin picks away bigger stuffed toy for her. He doesn't want her to hold back at all. It's her day, and she can pick whatever her heart desires, without thinking twice about money. They both treat themselves to some good food too, as they enjoy their meals. An unfamiliar voice calls out our boy's name. It's a middle-aged woman followed by a bunch of bodyguards. This chubby MILF seems like yet another trash talker who loves to hate on our boy. First, she points out his lousy sense of dressing. Then she questions the girl sitting next to him. She's bold enough to throw a jab, saying he must have knocked someone up and had this girl, just like how his mother brought him to this world. Of course, these sharp jabs infuriate our boy beyond anything. This MILF then promptly turns her attention to the girl and asks her name. The girl introduces herself as Lee Eun-young, which makes this trash MILF realize she's Dojin's sister. Out of habit, the woman throws a jab at her clothes too, calling her a mess. This bitch isn't sparing her deceased mother either. And all of this is just getting on our boy's nerves real bad. But for some reason, he's holding it all in, not trying to get aggressive with her provocations. Even this, MILF is pretty astonished at how Dojin is keeping his composure, not falling for her traps. So this bitch decides to go one step further. That's the last straw. Dojin snaps and calls her an ugly woman who belongs to a tribe of orcs. Of course, the woman is left wide-eyed and mind-blank after getting caught off guard. Let's have a little context to understand why Dojin has been tolerating this woman. Only so much, you see. Dojin was born an illegitimate child and lived in poverty at the tender age of 7. His mother died, and he barely made it to his father's house, with his father marrying a new woman. He was shunned by everyone. It only got worse. After his father's legitimate wife gave birth to a son, and Dojin was ignored completely. Things got so bad that he got kicked out of the very house he lived in. So he lived with his half-sibling at his grandmother's house. As our boy reflects back, he feels pity for the original Dojin, who had to endure all this, and still tried to keep a smile on his face, like he had no pain in his life. But now he wants to change everything. Seems like this woman is his stepsister, which explains why he was trying to hold himself back. But he won't tolerate her no more. He recalls how he shared a roof with this orc of a woman, and she's just as disgusting as ever. Not only is her personality messed up and her appearance orc-like, she's also dumb as hell. He further crushes her spirit by dropping brutal bombs on how she's a wreck with an inferiority complex. That's the only reason she projects her insecurities onto others. By calling them ugly, she's just a gold digger obsessed with others. And that's the real truth the world should know. As he continues to crush her under his sharp jabs, the entire shopping mall watches them, like they're the center of attention. The orc lady is totally annoyed and about to lose it, but then Dojin's stepmother walks in. Seeing her mom, the orc lady approaches her like the whiny bitch she is, complaining how this kid just shut her down with words. But this mother is aggravated to see her daughter whining like that, and shuts her up with a cold glare. Not gonna lie, bro's got one heck of a stepmom. At first, I even thought the orc lady was his stepmom. The hot mama turns her attention to our boy, and greets him with utmost grace. She's inviting him to come back home and hang out for some fun. But Dojin knows all too well that this facade his stepmom is putting up is fake. After all, she's the one who caused the most misery and unrest in the 12 years he lived with them. The woman continues, reminding Dojin of things he never wants to remember, triggering his PTSD and making him go full serious mode, with a tone colder than your mother's jokes. Our guy tells this bitch to get the fuck lost. That's a major slap to her dignity. Being shit-talked by someone younger than her. She just twirls around and leaves. With the last bit of dignity she has left. For real, though, she wasn't expecting him to clap back so sharply. She's left wondering if he's the same guy, who would just lower his head, even when she slapped him for no reason. Her bitch of a daughter follows along with their bodyguards, also following the both ladies. Honestly, these guards played the perfect role of mannequins in this ordeal. Let's shift our attention to our boy. Seems like these two girls totally ruined the time our duo was having. So our boy decides to be on his way too. The way he reacted to his step-family was intentional. He wanted to make one thing clear. The SEO Dojin, who couldn't even speak up for himself, is gone. It's high time his trash family realizes that. We then cut to a Mercedes zooming down the road. Inside the car, we see both the trash mother and daughter. The daughter is pissed at her mom for just walking out quietly, instead of putting Dojin in his place, as she vents her frustration, and curses our boy for the humiliation they suffered. The mother orders her manager to answer why Dojin is still alive. Well, Baldy has no clue how this dude is alive. It doesn't match the reports. The woman blares at the top of her lungs about the bullshit this man is spouting. How the heck could he be alive? If they made sure the job was done and clear, the poor guy assures her he'll look into the matter again and make sure this time the job is executed properly. Meanwhile, the trash daughter has no clue what her shady mother has been plotting all along. She's rattled hearing talk about killing and dying. Eventually, the mom poses a question to her daughter, wondering if she has feelings for Dojin. This catches the fat pig off guard, making her blush and flustered. Actually, she's worried about Dojin dying because if Grandpa or Dad find out, they're going to be in serious trouble. The mother grabs her daughter by the mouth hard enough and drills her to stay the hell away from her business. The mother is dead set on claiming Dojin's life, with no plan to spare him, with the appearance of the rift. This terrifying dimension gave birth to monsters, spawning from the portal, armed with the objective of slaughtering humans upon sight. Their terror didn't stop. It was ceaseless and eventually demolished the world, scarring it with destroyed cities engulfed in flames, however. Just like the appearance of the dark forces, there came the emergence of the light. in the form of valiant warriors called the heroes. With their emergence, the first discovery of mana stones was made from the dead bodies of the defeated monsters. Back to the present Dojians going somewhere. Because of their key role, countries decided to center their attention towards the emerging rifts, basically claiming priority over them so they could extract resources. With the current state of the world in motion, all of its industrialization is completely reliant on the concept of gates and the dependence of heroes. And because of that, the profession that can be classified as a hero reaps high rewards. A consistent, high salary can only be achieved via becoming a proper hero. Dojin's arrived at his destination. He finds himself entering the building, and upon first glance, the boss and his clowns look like your average run-of-the-mill thugs who want to scare people with their ugly faces. But Dojin is pretty chill about the situation. The boss puts out his cigarette and points out our boy's audacity to not only beat the crap out of his goons, but also to show his face at the door. It really shows that Dojin really doesn't give a flying fudge about anyone. He cleverly tells the organization's owner that in reality, it's actually Dojin himself who found himself at a real loss. That statement is ridiculous from the point of the view of the boss. So he seeks clarification on what our guy means. The boss has noticed one significant change from the boy's personality. Something about the kid has changed. He's no longer the soft-spoken spirit or the gentle person he was. Then there's the added evidence that this same kid destroyed the lackeys he sent to his door. All things considered, the boss's leading suspicion is that SEO Dojin must have experienced a unique kind of awakening throughout his experiences in the gate. Despite knowing this, dude still decides to act arrogant and tells Dojin that his newfound confidence, because of his awakening, will become his own undoing. The hypocrite calls our boy for being overconfident in his abilities and to back up his claims. He brings over a bunch of grumpy men to intimidate him. Of course, he can pack all the muscle he needs, but to the experience of a sword god, they're practically insects in comparison. The boss is talking out his ass and states that even those awakened people end up getting killed, like deadweight and low-class heroes. In the end, the funniest part, bro, is under the assumption that SEO Dojin is nothing beyond the level of 8D class hero, and that his organization can easily stomp on someone as weak as that. Meanwhile, Dojin is just chilling on the sofa in the background, while 5 guys are staring him down, without showing even a hint of amusement. He orders the boss to sit the heck back down. The boss is astonished to hear him continue to speak in his previous tone, while Dojin emphasizes with a serious face that he's not done talking. Hearing him say something like that, one of the guys decides to get his balls tripped up and challenges Dojin amusingly enough. Our boy happily takes off his glasses, adding more to his confusion. And then he hammers a Mike Tyson ballistic universal machine gun rocket punch. 9,000 in his damn face. The dude is sent flying from the impact, while his friends are at a loss for words. But that's not all, because the beating is shared among the group, as Dojin knocks down another one. Keep in mind that while he's beating their asses, he's calmly making his points too, sharing his knowledge of the boss's secret shady business. Underneath the cover of a money-lending business, Dojin aims to punch down an orange-haired punk and proves his knowledge of the counterfeit identification business. He pulls, having landed his punch. He tells the boss that he's in search of hero identity to officially register as one and make money, ducking the strike of the final guy. Dojin returns the blow with triple the love, and that's how he made the entire group sleep. With his special sleeping routine, works 100% of the time. Dojin continues his demands, stating that he's in need of a foolproof identification that doesn't cause any trouble for him in the future. The boss is left starstruck by what happened. In the span of a few seconds, our boy reminds him that he's only got one day to forge the identity. For him, some of the men didn't intervene in the fight, by the way, which is a compliment to the NPCs, because they're the type to challenge God. While being a level 1 rookie in most stories, the boss is out here tripping for life, as he begins to question and assess Dojin's skill level. At the least, this guy appears to be B-class in strength. Bro is so lost in his thoughts that he has to be reminded by the kid to snap out of it. He happily accepts the job too, Finally, Dojin grabs his shoulder politely and contrasts it with an intimidating expression on his face. He wants to know if Hong Hee-ju, his stepmother, ordered a hit on him. Of course, this is actually pretty much the case, evidenced by the conversation she had with her daughter and assistant. Earlier, the boss is at a loss for words, until Dojin forces his grip so hard that the guy yelps in pain. Even his scrubs are looking helpless. For their boss, I have to say, they should really change their barbers to anyway. Now that is a definition of an evil fucking plan, especially towards your son. Even if cast away those were her orders. Dojin hears this, and after enough of his begging and crying, he lets the man free, questioning if that's also one of the reasons they locked him inside the gate. The boss turns into an innocent little guy who had nothing to do with that incident, even going as far as to reveal that he wouldn't get paid for the execution if he died inside the gate. That's probably one plausible reason why he couldn't have done something like that, and it already has Dojin thinking. He utters the words Kong Chul-woo, which is actually the name of the guy who brought him to the gate in the first place effectively. Dojin wants to know every last piece of information of the guy until tomorrow with his 2 demands stated. He leaves politely, completely changing the atmosphere of the room from which he first entered. After that conversation, Dojin is left with a deep contemplative state again. The real SEO, Dojin, only had one desire. He wanted to protect his little sister and his beloved grandmother, no matter what on top of everything that happened. It just adds another layer of misery and shows the kind of life the poor kid had to endure while being helpless but not to worry. Because the sword god is ready to do what he must in order to set the record straight. The following day, guess what? Our boy's officially registered, and he's also got a B rank rating, which is convenient unlike all the other stories, where main character just has to be at the lowest possible rank. For style points, tapping the card on the machine. He proves the card's legitimacy, because it recognizes his identity into the system. However, it warns him that the rank is still lower than the dangerous quest he's about to take. This is actually pretty annoying to our boy, who thinks that maybe he should have peeved the bastard to assign him a higher rank, so that he couldn't run into these problems. Let's talk about the specifics of the Night Island Gate. It's actually just a B rank gate, but the logic doesn't mean a B rank hunter can survive it. Heroes are always recommended a class higher than the gate rank. The scale of the dungeon is considered rank D, which means it's spread out and will be difficult for solo hunting. The good thing, however, is that it's in the form of tunnels, which means to some capacity, solo hunting won't be that hard for him this time. Because of the gate scale, it is highly recommended that a rank hero take on the task, which is a giant serpent with a chaotic purple aura. For most heroes, this would be a sign of terror, but for him, this is a sign of good luck, as he prepares his gauntlets to get the battle started. Oh, and by the way, the serpent has a bunch of its friends too, and their tongues remind me of the Alien movie anyway. They do their best to attack, but it's pointless because our boy is such a killing machine that he snatches and collects the mana stones. The Black Killing Viper is a class of monster that is known for its hyperactive paralysis, poison that can knock anyone down even with the slightest contact. With that in consideration, Dojin charges to propel himself at bullet speed and launches full swing in a short span of time. He's about to slice and dice the creature all over its body, splashing blood until he severs the monster in half. With the creature defeated, Dojin notices his equipment. The gloves he purchased are ensuring the poison doesn't get in contact with him, and for the price of 300,001, they're holding their ground. Returning to the hunting session, Dojin turns his attention to 4 more of these ugly, limbless lizards, and begins blasting right through their heads with his powerful speed until the vipers are sent to the afterlife. Dojin stands there busy, searching for a bunch of magic stones by clawing from the monster's flesh. To his disappointment, there isn't any magic stone around. You might be thinking it's the boss, but Dojin's got a different opinion. And as he asks the oversized serpent if he's the boss monster, because definitely the snake will answer like a good friend anyway. Dojin thinks it's a good thing this big guy appeared, because he won't have to worry about getting lost anymore, spiraling into an immediate strike. He plans to end the battle quickly to return home. But then an unexpected thing happens. Despite having successfully landed a brute strike, his punch doesn't have any effect on the creature. Bro just gave him a tattoo on the head instead, while he's in the air and unable to dodge. The creature bashes him into the wall with its tail. Dojin sits there having crash landed. It probably gave him a reality check about the boss monster's strength. I think the creature whips out its poisonous fangs and hisses at him, like the average girlfriend when she's hungry. The creature attempts to bite him down, but luckily he evades the attempt. Using the momentum of his evasive maneuver, he bolts right back into motion, with a powerful punch that connects with the creature's body and leaves more cracks against its hard shell. From this second attack, one thing has been made clear to him. At his current level that he can't penetrate with one strike alone, this reverses the situation on him, making him question if he should aim for a different battle strategy. At his original strength, the sword god would mop the ever-living floor with this beast, but then suddenly he notices something. It's the sword of the warrior who lost his life fighting the boss. And now you guys are about to know why he's called the sword god and not the fist god. Even though the weapon is extremely worn out after the fight, he grabs hold of it, believing that a sword is only as competent as its wielder. With that knowledge in mind and the blade armed in his hand, he walks towards the monstrous snake. The creature propels itself forth to strike him down again, bursting with incredible speeds. Dojin responds by going high up into the air, that he's going all out to kill the beast with his sword. Despite the sword's condition being crap, this guy literally unleashes so many flashing cuts in the span of a few strikes that it leaves the snake's body eviscerated. The serious fight turns into a funny conclusion, with the snake dying in the background, while our boy's sword is reduced to dust. It's a good thing. He wiped the creature out while it was still holding on. With the boss monster dead, Dojin thinks of a smart idea that I don't really see many other protagonists implement. He takes off one of the fangs of the creature, believing it could be used as a nice material for a short sword, with a bit of refinement considering this as a reward for his journey. It's already a starry night outside. He spent more time at the B rank gate than he thought. Also, he's a bit happy that his old friends don't get to see this weak version of him, because that would be embarrassing. Back from the hunt, he goes to appraise and sell the magic stones. Before him, there's actually another hero, who has come to present his great stash of magic stones. The cheap-ass receptionist treats him like shit, and points out that the commission rate is the same as 40%. Even the innocent guy can sense the bullshit behind that overly high rate. He even calls it out, stating his concerns and calling himself a normal guy. The receptionist, just like what he did with Dojin, clarifies that their rate is actually the lowest among all the appraisal trades. The gate center is 5%, but that's without taxes. From the perspective of the sleazy appraiser, this is a great deal for heroes to have that earns them good money. The cash is handed to the hero, who doesn't really complain much, except concerningly asking about the dude's messed up face. The funny thing is how this guy is still repeating the same script, even after getting his face bashed in. Bro plays it off, stating that a psychopath first obliterated his guards, and then he left him with this treatment. The hero thinks it's actually the fault of the receptionist for keeping low-ranking guard around. At the C rank level, after all, rank isn't the only thing that matters in their world. Skill plays a huge role too. Rank is actually a false representation of one's abilities, and only updated to keep the system intact. The hero is wise to mention that the people of the same rank have a huge variance in skills and abilities, so they can't all be treated the same. Then there's also a difference between a lame watchguard, who sits all day guarding the shop, and a hero out there who is actively hunting down beasts for a living, even though this guy is actually giving him some solid advice. The joker of a receptionist just wants him to stop yapping and leave already, which he does, offering to help the little dude out if he ever needs something. As he's leaving, our boy walks right past the guy, looking as cold as ever. Upon seeing him, at once the receptionist flinches and bugs the F out. He points at Dojin, shouting that this is the psychopath that made a mess out of him, turning back to face them both. The hero is actually pretty impressed. He notices our boy's lean physique for his height. Still, the fact that he made a mess of the guards here spirals the man to gear up for a fight, questioning if he's the troublemaker. The one thing I like about this guy is that he isn't offended for petty reasons. He actually believes that Dojin is misusing his powers as a hero by bullying civilians in his normal life. Of course, it couldn't be further from the truth, since he only knows one side of the story. But it's still quite interesting to see realistic characters. The receptionist is enjoying the scene, knowing that this guy is actually a 7-year-old veteran hero. If something happens to him here, the guy has plenty of connections. He can abuse by giving them Dojin's name, without really giving a damn about who he is. Our boy turns back and simply tells the boomer to piss off. This only spirals the guy into being provoked, because all of a sudden, now it's really looking like he's being an asshole. Dojin asks if the guy is looking to exact revenge on him. Hearing those words, the veteran hero is provoked. However, being the responsible hero that he is, and from the experience he has, he knows that it is unwise to take battles against other heroes, as it almost always results in deaths. It's actually an even higher rate of death than a fight. Against monsters, recalling that fact, bro literally chills out and turns his back, leaving the receptionist at a loss for words. Dojin turns to the sleazy appraiser and asks if he's got a problem he's looking to address. Before the guy could answer, he tossed a bag full of magic stones to appraise and convert into money. These precious, shiny babies are all high-grade magic stones, which really begs the question on who this guy really is. From the perspective of the receptionist calculating the amount wins up to be a total of 150 million won. It seems like a lot at first glance, but to Dojin it's far too little for a day's worth of hunting. He asks for the cash, but the receptionist reminds him of the commission rate they have to calculate beforehand, which obviously draws a scary look from our boy. Remembering that the rate is only 1% in their little deal, he cools down and tells the guy to wind up the rest of the amount to him. Now inside the mind of the hilarious appraiser, he wants to beat the shit out of the guy for having so much audacity, but it's only in his imagination that he can do that. Speaking of which, the receptionist expresses that there has to be approval from upper management for an amount this huge without wasting another breath. Dojin demands that he get the approval right this instance. So the guy quickly phones his boss, whispering the details of their situation. But before he can smoothly wind up a deal, Dojin snatches the phone and directly tells the boss to hurry up with the payment. The boss is okay with doing so, but he just wants the phone to be handed back to the employee, returning it with pleasure. Dojin accidentally, or should I say intentionally, smashes the phone into the wall. The employee is shivering at the sight of his smashed device, as Dojin instructs him to quickly prepare the money, now that things are cleared up. And that's how the receptionist prepared numerous bags full of cash for the transaction. By the end, the guy is left devastated at being forced in such a way. Maybe you guys feel pity for him. But remember, he continues to scam nearly half the amount that ordinary heroes earn after risking their lives. He's a scumbag. 10 minutes passed, and the boss quickly found himself at his store, enraged at why his employee wasn't picking up the phone. The hilarious part is that the receptionist throws in the towel and embraces an immediate resignation. The boss then sees the guy's phone smashed into the wall, giving him a good idea of what went down. Seeing this, he pulls out his phone to call Ju Yen, requesting that she come here at once. Ju Yen appears to be a famous young woman, donning beautiful purplish pink hair. She's so recognizable in public that people are celebrating her name as Hyun Ju Yun and treating her like a celebrity. Not to mention that she looks dope as hell with that outfit. She arrives at the store and stuns the receptionist with her presence, giving him a nice greeting with a smile. There's a big reason why everyone's making a big fuss about her. She's the country's 4th S-rank hero in the lineup. Nothing short of amazing. People have sprouted rumors that she's the niece of the boss, but then it makes him question what she's doing here. Confirming the claims, Jian expresses that she was called here on behalf of her uncle's request to take care of a reckless hero. Intrigued about the situation, the stylish S-ranker sits down, ready to hear what's going on. In the next scene, we can find our boy with his absolutely ripped body, meditating out in the sun. And yet the rewards he reaped from it weren't amazing at all. With the way things are going, he's worried about the future. First and foremostly, he needs to get to a level where he can clear S-rank gates on his own. That means he has to train to restore his original strength. You heard that right, boys. It's training arc time. Dejun's biggest challenge in this current life is that, unlike the previous world, the mana density of this one is thin. That means that even if he does his best to gather mana, with his current rate, it will take 3 years at the minimum to come close to his original strength. Even more if things get rough. On the bright side, he could aim for better equipment for battle. But the issue is, even the most terrible equipment easily runs for hundreds of millions. So that would be wasting money. Suddenly a chill runs down his spine as he senses the presence of someone dangerous. Fixating his sight on Yun-Young, he grabs the little girl at full speed and demands that everyone go inside quickly. Back inside, he shuts the room down, while his grandma eagerly questions what's going on. The entire structure shakes with a loud quake, making his grandmother flinch and question in terror if they're having an earthquake. Little Eun-Young is in a state of panic. But the truth is something only our boy knows. This isn't just an earthquake. It's something else. Dojun senses the sharp and violent energy outside. A rift has just cleaved open into their world, and it just so happens to have manifested on top of their house. At full speed, he cuts into the entrance of the rift, where the last thing he hears is the cries of his grandma and his sister calling out his name. The scene switches to the Seoul Hero Association, where its members are made immediately alert at the sudden emergence of a rift on top of the Mapo region. It appeared after 63 days of the last emergence. Realizing that the White Lion Guild is the closest to Mapo, the manager wants his staff to contact the guild at once and alert the nearby heroes to join in to control the situation. Upon closer inspection of the rift's exact location, he discovers that the rift appeared on top of a residential home. This is a tricky situation even for them. They're practically guaranteed their demise. Not to mention that the rift won't allow anyone else to enter after that. And if the person inside dies, it will send out a wave of crashing monsters in 10 days' time, causing chaos and destruction for the people living in the region. The monster wave would become so uncontrollable that Seoul's safety will be fully jeopardized. The manager is curious about the person who interacted and entered the rift. Turns out that they know SEO Do-jin has taken action, as he's the resident of the home. According to his grandma, he entered the rift to protect his family from this information. They are under the impression that he's not a hero, and that complicates things because the chances of an ordinary civilian returning from the rift is next to impossible. This causes the entire staff to feel despair and helplessness for the situation, as they can do nothing in the next scene. We actually find Dojun's pissed off stepmom, annoyed hearing the news of his new awakening. She can't believe her ears. Her assistant reports that, while he hasn't officially registered with the Hero Association, they've come to verify that he's indeed now an awakened individual from his last gate experience. This makes her frustrated, because Kang Chul-woo was supposed to finish the job, and instead it only made her target even stronger. Going batshit crazy, she smacks her fist on the table, questioning why the hell they couldn't just manage to kill the guy on their own. The fact that they also took money for executing a failing job is also a reason for her to get angry. Roaring at Manager Lee, she declares her frustrations with Kang Chul-woo by sending him a message if he doesn't kill Do-jin personally. He'll owe her 10 times the amount in return. But to her surprise, her assistant surprisingly reveals that they may not even require contacting the guy anymore, sharing the discovery of the new rift just on top of Dojun's house. Having confirmed that he entered the rift, it's clear-cut that he won't be making out alive. Hong Hee-ju is happy to hear the news, and the implication that he won't make it out alive. She calms down, appearing normal for once, and tells the assistant to assess the situation until they get more news. As for our boy, he's just arrived in the rift's domain. It's the same forest that he once used to enjoy his youth in while resting. The forest of Petit SWA is exactly the same in its reconstruction, down to the very last details of how he remembers it. Even the rich mana inside carries the same weight. Following the pathway, he smiles at his reunion with the all-powerful world tree. This tree exudes mana in its purest form, the most divine structure and the core of the world's stability. So much so that when the old world fell, it started when this tree was incinerated to the ground, forever tampering with the flow of mana. However, in this rift dimension, the tree is fine and just how he remembers it, though he's unaware of the cause. One thing is for certain, he has a chance to reclaim the mana he lost by absorbing it from the tree, meditating underneath the excellent flow of mana. Our boy is getting his strength clearer and clearer. He spent more than 3 days sitting exactly like this, forgetting to eat or drink or tend to his bodily needs. 10 whole days passed, and all he could focus was on harmonizing his breathing. By the end of the 10th night, trouble came looking for him and disrupted his meditation. These alien-like creatures are called the Bolkina, and they've come to burn the tree, just like how they did it in the past. Only this time, our boy is there to prevent the tragedy from happening again, while Dojin regrets being unable to have a water element sword to knock them all down with ease. The burning monsters roar to make their way to him, but our boy is replenished with so much mana that he no longer cares about a weapon. He is the weapon, and those hands are rated E for everyone, extending his hand towards the monsters. He exerts so much authority from his mana alone that it knocks down one of them. The second creature is stunned by his ability. Let's break down what happened just now. What he did there is called mana release and not exactly telekinesis. It's a blaster-type attack that uses raw mana as a detonation strike. It had been a while since he used this ability in such a way, considering he was low on reserves all this time anyway. The Bolkina creatures aren't done just yet. To retaliate, they release charged blasts from their mouths. In return, these pulsing laser beams quickly make their way to our boy, appearing the calmest he's ever been. His mana alone is enough to protect him from any damages. Stepping towards the creatures while he's ignited with a burst of mana, he remarks that he's finally protected the world tree, and now he's ready to play for a bit and enjoy the fruits of his training. The ugly bastards are trying for another energy blast attack, but our boy quickly catches 2 of them and forces their mouths shut. This way their own ability charges up and explodes inside their mouth, leaving behind a headless corpse of flames. The corpses of the creatures wither away, but that's just a couple of them down. Dojin is enjoying his life, thrilled to unlock something called the Eternal Ember after defeating these guys, joyfully cutting his way past the monsters and smacking them all down. With a grin, he's finally glad to steal a good load of mana stones from them. The one-sided slaughter continues until he wipes out all of them. Dojin has won the lottery ticket with how many stones they're dropping. Among them, he also discovers a small coin or a seed glowing in gold. This is called the Eternal Ember. As he picks it up in his hand with this, he's reclaimed control of more of his power as he crushes the chip and unlocks its flames. The way he's casually playing around with the ember reminds me of Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, in any normal case, the ideal strategy here would be to keep gathering mana from the world tree. However, the current state of his body has reached its physical limit for mana absorption. The second way of doing so is actually absorbing the ember, completely altering the state of his mana and transforming it into fire mana. And he does exactly that as his body produces a rush of flame energy. Now, unfortunately, in his previous life, he felt zero need to do this and didn't care about the Eternal Ember at all. However, now it's required for him to fully absorb the embers, and it takes like 10 whole minutes just to get one finished. Luckily, he's got a whole bunch of these collected for him, so his goal is to absorb as many as possible. The appearance of the rift has sparked a public interest. The reporters are all gathered around our boy's house, while agents and association staff are protecting the place. Bang Si-Yongu is pissed off because of one guy's arrogance to enter the rift prematurely. I have to point out that he looks like a carbon copy of Yanho from Solo Leveling, but with a cleaner haircut. I guess we also have our protagonist, but with blue hair. This guy is called Kim Hyun-woo, and he sympathizes with Do Jin's actions to save his sister. But Sung-gu doesn't buy that explanation at all, accusing our boy of heading in like a greedy guy who wasn't ready for the consequences. It would have been fine if he lived himself the normal way. But if he dies in the rift, the place will become a detonation ground for monsters to come pouring out, and that's the issue, really. Hyun-woo asked for Gilma's input, and apparently, Gilma has told them to just do things according to the protocols. Hyun-woo questions the recent emergence of rifts, popping all over the world, in various countries like the US, China, Switzerland, Turkey, and the UK. That's one reason. Gilma is having a hard time managing so many rifts all at once. This kind of phenomenon doesn't really happen every day, and yet, some of the nations were able to easily contain the threat with ease. But for South Korea, they're out here pissed as hell, because their situation could very well turn into a disaster. Because of one guy, Song Ho, is so pissed that he wants to beat the crap out of the dude who went in, and is begging for the riff to throw him out. Speaking of the gargantuan Purple Gate, 28 days have passed since its first appearance. The same goes for the number of days Dojin has spent inside. Now the Hero Association is afraid, and has already cautioned the threat as a level 1 wave, while the rest of the world is clueless about Dojin's identity. The boss of the money lending organization catches on quickly and connects the dots. Even his assistant confirms the report. To verify the information of his involvement, Kim Yong-gu plays as the right-hand man to the president Huang Chang-so. But the mere mention of Dude Jean being treated as an ordinary person carves an amusing smile on Chang-soo's face. That same regular so-called person put his men in the hospital and gave them bandages for weeks. From the perspective of the world, they're vastly underestimating the abilities of the one civilian that went inside the rift. Now Chang-soo is also interested in hearing the chances of someone surviving as an awakened individual. For that, his assistant believes that it would ultimately depend on the level of the hero. And it's tough to make a judgment call without accurate information. Even Cheong-sab admits that fighting ability is different from pure surviving ability. And then it introduces a whole different level of complications when you're inside a rift. Of all things anyway, one thing is for certain: the bastard hasn't changed his ways. Cheong-sab wants to protect Dojin's family, but not for noble reasons. Now this scumbag intends to sell the organs of his loved ones in case he doesn't make it back. And even if he does, he's going to pin the blame of debt on him for taking care. This guy is the embodiment of a leech. The scene transitions to the mesmerizing world tree. Here our boy is going full speed into his training arc, as his body is now thriving with flame mana. He doesn't even know how much time has passed, but he's been grinding by absorbing hundreds of the fire stones. With this, he's acquired so much fire mana that he can use it and manipulate it in any way he deems fit. Not to mention, his resistance to the flames has increased as a side effect, comparing his past self with his current self on the basis of fire attribute alone. He thinks he's surpassed his past self in a small capacity by mastering this ability. Embracing the world tree, he shares a tender moment with it. It's always served him in a time of need, even in the past and even now. Because of that, Dojin is grateful for everything it has done for him. As for his mana stones, he's made up a small bag using vines to store them all, with the stones collected and stashed. Dojin fully understands that he'll probably never get to see the angelic tree again, but even still he's hoping for their paths to cross if the divine tree ever finds itself in danger, because when that happens, he will be ready to protect it with his life. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed this gentle scene. That night, Dojin finally steps out into the outside world, emerging from the rift as a whole. Luckily, he doesn't sense anyone to be around, suspecting that most people probably thought he already died inside, and that a monster wave would pop out at any time. However, he does detect the presence of someone strong nearby. Deciding to chase them down, he rushes to find the source. Shortly afterwards, he stumbles across the two agents, one pissed off and the other relaxed. Both Yinwoo and Seonggu from last time. Now he understands that these guys probably represent the association from their outfit alone, which means in the off chance he gets caught, things will get really problematic. To combat that issue, he whirls up a ball of flame and chucks it into the air with a forceful lunge, resulting in a loud explosion upon detonation. Both Hyunwoo and Seong were on red alert the moment they heard the crashing sound. Realizing that it's actually fire, they decide to chase after it. There they discover a bunch of people standing in horror. Seonggu questions what the hell is going on in the chaos. Meanwhile, our boy is impressed with his flame power. So far, its precision is good. So it will do him wonders in the memory of his old friend called Tusks. He wonders if the mage would be impressed by his current level of flames after all. Tusks was known to be the strongest fire mage on the continent, and they shared a good bond. It appears to be acting up, and right before their eyes, it disappears into the mist. Both of the agents rush to the site to see what's going on. When they arrive, they can't believe that the rift's connection to their world is no more. As for our boy, he's just making his way to his next destination without any problems. News breaks out the following morning concerning the state of the rift that lasted for a month. In Meipo, it is announced that the rift disappeared 29 days after SEO Do-jun entered the zone, proving the concerns of the Hero Association to be wrong. About the monster wave, they have no idea about the unexpected disappearance of the rift, and they're currently investigating what went down. They also have trouble dealing with the cause of the fire that broke out at the time of the rift's disappearance. In a junkyard now, this leads most people to believe that SEO Do-jun is dead, and that this is just the consequence of his own actions. Unbeknownst to them, our boy is hidden in plain sight, observing the conflicting opinions of the people, as some are sympathizing with the boy who lost his life. Unfortunately, the disappearance of the rift is heartbreaking news for our hero. He's devastated that he can't interact with the world tree anymore, even though he can't protect the world tree. There's still one other thing he could protect in his life, which brings us right to the HCS capital again. Inside, the idiots are busy celebrating the death of Dojin, believing that they can easily get rid of the old granny and his sister afterwards. Chang Zhao is just the kind of guy to squeeze people to death. After all, one bastard is talking about how they should let the little sister grow up so they can use her in other ways, while they're chatting without policing their own words. A familiar voice greets them and demands for their boss. The scene cuts off right there, and we get to see Chang Ziab humming and going about his day, satisfied that Dajun is finally out of the way and dead for good. His assistant reviews their appointments for today. Apparently he's free for the most part, except for a lunch with another CEO, hearing that he's happy because tonight he can enjoy partying to his delight at a club under Madam Kong. It's basically senseless chatter until he steps into the building, and as he's climbing stairs, he finds his men being tossed around like playthings. Their blood is splattered around, and the cause of it all is someone he presumed to be dead. Our boy throws him to the ground and tells the filthy Chang Xiao to crawl back to him, has the president of the company quivering. Our boy acts like the real leader of the group and assumes his place in his chair. He then repeats his command to the ignorant Chang Xiab, who is still processing the weight of the shameless order. Without wasting time, he crawls like a dog. Ruthless as ever, Dojin then orders him to bark, as he deserves to be treated like an animal. His loud and clear utterance of the command has Chang Xiab whining in humiliation. It takes a second for him to bark successfully, but our boy is not satisfied at all. Our boy personally makes sure to make an animal out of him by forcing him to bark repeatedly for everyone to hear. The president is reduced to being less than human, just like the people he treats. Dojin points out that scumbags like him only act obedient on surface, but end up backstabbing you right when they find an opportunity, declaring his filthy name. He chillingly tells the man that his life has plenty of experiences dealing with second-rate humans, like him pleading and begging for mercy. Chang Su is prepared to serve like a loyal dog if necessary, but Dojin has heard enough and whips a heavy slap across his face. Just that much force is enough to knock the wind out of the guy and spurt out blood. His assistant watches the scene unfold until his name is called Dujin, addresses him as the new boss of the company, and recommends that he stop working under a bastard like him, knowing that these guys are so ready to stab people in the back. He orders the assistant to kill Chang Su with full permission. Of course, it's a task too heavy for a competent servant like him. He apologizes and objects by stating that their leader has a lot of connections, so things will get really bad if he's the one appointed the boss, instead of Chang SEO on behalf of him. The assistant pleads to Dujin to spare the guy just one more time. However, Dujin doesn't want to play around with simple words in front of them. He suggests wrapping Chang Sub's body in a barrel and removing all evidence by shoving it in the endless ocean. After all, it's just one of the things these guys excel at doing, seeing as the boss's servants aren't willing to oblige. Our boy takes a different approach with them. Dojin threatens the entire group, that he'll toss everyone in the gate as monster food if they don't carry out this order. Yeah, the mere mention of that has Chang Zayab reduced to a pathetic mess. He can't take it anymore and keeps on begging for his life, promising that he won't ever betray and will always serve under Dojin. Now this puts the hero in a bit of a contemplation, although he could kill off Changsu right here and get rid of all his issues. Something about him has changed in this life. Admitting it himself, Dojin has grown softer compared to his merciless past self. So this time he agrees, offering the guy a hand. I just know Changsu is about to become religious as heck after this, praying to God that he doesn't get on Dojin's nerves again. He goes on to shake the hero's hand, promising to serve unconditionally from now on. But wait, something is strange. Why is his hand engulfed in steaming hot flames? Yes, though Dojin has gotten soft, he's still ruthless, looking at the man dead in the eye. He reminds the scumbag that it's his final chance. Indeed, Dojin then proceeds to rip his hand off clean, reducing it to a charred paste. By the end of the meeting, he walks away, ignoring the agonizing cries of the president. He does leave them with a final warning. If even a single one of them tries to get in the way of his family, again, Dojin will personally ensure their deaths. As for their new job, they are forever deemed responsible to protect his family for the rest of their lives. Now, that's how you handle traitors. Officially speaking, the man known as SEO Dujun was just a blip in existence that vanished, along with the rift in reality. He's actually dining in the local whack McDonald's. The Government Hero Association and all kinds of media outlets quickly moved past him like yesterday's news. They all treated the civilian who entered the rift as a dead man. Even if he came out and told the world that he was alive, no one would buy it. Furthermore, surfacing after a solo rift mission would only bring headaches and trouble his way. That subdued dog Huang Chung-sab is currently helping him find a new and suitable house, so he can afford to move leisurely for the time being. Dujin finally got the chance to feed his sister some delicious fast food. He also informed her of their plan to move out to a better neighborhood, and she could not be any happier. She can now go to kindergarten like kids her age and enter elementary school the next year. When the topic of school came up, little Eun Young's mood took a turn for the worse. Dujin was alarmed. He is used to slaughtering abominable beasts, but cuddling a kid is not in his arsenal. He was taken aback when her sister confessed how other kids tease her for being an orphan. Hearing his adorable sister's plight broke Big Bro Dojin's heart. If she does not want to associate with the mean kids, she doesn't have to. Those little bastards will get what's coming for them. Eventually finding out that she wouldn't have to attend kindergarten to be bullied anymore, Yun Young was hyped inwardly. Dojin is devising a plan to send his little sis to a prestigious private school where no one would dare look down on her. That night, SEO Dojin found out that Kim Young-gu had stashed his grandma and sister in some random motel while he was stuck inside. The Rift Glasses bastard almost broke his back trying to apologize. He reasoned that the motel is under the management of their company, so it is safer than any other place. Dojin does not have the energy to mess with lackeys tonight, so he just enters the room and sees his grandma once more. Little Yin Yang pounced on him with a bear hug, and Grandma held his hand with tears petering from her eyes. She's just glad to see her grandson come back alive. At first, the hardened warrior was stunned, but once he felt the warmth coming from his family, he accepted the love they had for him with a smile. Little Yoon Young has taken a liking to McDonald's, so they've been dining in that absolutely real place a lot. Today she asked questions about Big Bro's job being a hero. When asked if she likes having a hero for a brother, Yoon Young nonchalantly answered that she does not. While it is cool that heroes are strong and cool, they are also constantly in danger when fighting terrifying monsters. Sometimes they even die. And little Eun-yang just wants her brother to live with Grandma and herself for a long time. Dojin had been so used to mindless bloodshed. Having someone worried about his well-being is quite a new feeling for him. In the harsh world of the past, he was the last human survivor. He fought monsters and creatures beyond your wildest dreams. In the process, he lost a lot of things. Now that he's given a second chance in a different world, something incredibly precious has appeared by his side. Feelings he had long forgotten are coming back to the surface. In this world, maybe he can live happily. Maybe he can just live a quiet life with joy and love. While he was feeling fuzzy and warm on the inside, Korea's Hero Association was in shambles. Nate Hwang, founder of the Korea Hero Association and director of the World Hero Federation, has been stressing over the recent Rift incident or the lack thereof. Their best people have investigated the site, but no new information has been found. Feeling clueless about the state of his territory is frustrating the founder. It's not far-fetched to believe that a spontaneously disappearing rift can potentially reappear at any time. His assistant tried to agree with his worries. She thought it would have been better if a wave had occurred. At least they would not have to worry about unknown variables. Director Tae Wong cuts her words off before he gets angrier. While he is worried about uncertainties, he thinks it is fortunate that no one was harmed. Nate Young is one of the top 100 respected and strongest heroes in the world. It is widely speculated that he would easily be elected with the most votes in history if he ran for president. His words and influence could easily topple domestic conglomerates if he wanted to. Thankfully, his interests lie in neither the power of a nation's leader nor the wealth of a conglomerate. The only thing he cares about is the safety of his people. In other words, he's a real one, even if it takes time. He wants a more thorough investigation covering the rift's perimeter. The residents around the nearby area have already agreed to sell their properties to the association, so that shouldn't be a problem. As a consolation, Taiwan wants to offer those people more than a market price for their homes. That's the least they could do after causing such inconvenience. All reliable sources have relayed that multiple rifts have occurred in different countries. No matter how you look at it, something must be going on. The United States and China have already entered the control stages of their rifts. Among major nations, the United Kingdom is facing the biggest problem. Speaking of them, the month-long mission to get rid of the UK rift has finally crumbled. In a glaring defeat, the UK rift wave occurrence has officially begun. The city and its people are going about their day like they normally would. Amongst the crowd was SEO Dojin, blending in with the pedestrians. Today, his destination is his favorite shop in the Hero Complex. When he entered the door, the dude manning the counter gave him a greeting by instinct, but choked upon seeing his face. Every strand of hair in his body stood in terror upon seeing the black-haired young man. Today his manager is in the store, so he won't have to deal with this sadistic customer alone. The manager promptly closed the paper he was reading and lifted his gaze. His voice was controlled but was tinted with anger. This is the guy who's been forcing his pushover cashier into buying low-grade crystals. Dojin lazily removed his backpack and tossed the whole thing on the ground. It's actually good that the manager is here, so the sale of his magic crystals would proceed faster. Mr. Manager expected another batch of low-grade crystals to spill on the floor. He's not interested in such small-time business. Dojin does not like being turned away when all he wants is fair trade. The manager or any other sane business owner cannot afford to accept just a 1% fee. It would be better if the young man just left. Dojin asserted that refusing to do business with him would be a massive mistake that Mr. Manager would regret. The manager continued shooing the young man away, not even bothering to look at the bag. This is the last warning he will give before things go down. In response, Dojin kicked the backpack down, spilling its contents on the tiles. Being experienced crystal traders, both the cashier and the manager, that crude bag was actually filled with Hero's magic crystals, a legendary treasure that money cannot buy. Dojin has a rough idea of how much these things are worth. He knows he's holding premium stuff. You see, the Hero's magic crystal was used by an infamous Mexican drug lord. The Hero's magic crystal caused Quarzaman to awaken as a powerful hero. Since then, the crystal has become a priceless item for hero awakenings. In mana enhancement, such an incredibly rare energy source can be classified as an ultra high-end product. As a power move, Dojin ordered the schmucks to pack their stuff back up, and he left. Mr. Manager quickly changed his dismissive and arrogant tone into a welcoming one. He even escorted the young man to their VIP seats and offered some drinks while his cashier polished the crystals. Dojin liked reversing the situation in its head. 1 second he was being driven away. The next he was sipping on some iced beverage. His opening demand was full price with a 0.5% commission. As soon as the manager expressed a sign of bulking, he threatened to pull the deal. In prior trades, Dojin agreed to 1%. Now he's lowering that already abysmal rate even lower. Frankly, he's just doing that out of annoyance. In response, the manager lowered his head and tried to give the sincerest apology he could muster. Well, Dojin is tired of hearing empty apologies. They can either accept his rate or he'll take his business elsewhere. It's that simple at the counter. The cashier is inwardly cursing Dojin for being such a rude prick. Seeing that, his acting wouldn't convince the kid to give him a bigger cut. The manager locked in and gave a lengthy lecture about magic, crystal markets, and pricing. Dojin doesn't have time to listen to such long-winded yapping, though. He finished his drink and got up from his seat, making the manager panic. Feeling the deal of a lifetime slipping away from his fingers, the manager offered a 9% commission. It did not work, so he proposed 8%. This continued from 8 to 7, 6 and 5 in this range. His shop won't be making any profit at all, while the manager is in the pits of despair. SEO Dojin pounces and agrees to settle for 1%, out of respect for their past dealings. Inwardly, the manager wanted to scream and curse the blatant extortionist. He just can't bear to let go of the product. The next words that came out of Dojin's mouth nearly made the manager piss his pants. An excitement aside from the one he brought today, he has about 7 more bags of those priceless crystals. With that being said, the contract was quickly produced and signed. After a few minutes of officiating the deal, 67 billion and one entered CEO Dojin's bank account. That's about $48 million at this rate. His 110 billion won house doesn't seem so far off. The problem is that getting more high-grade magic crystals through normal gates is a time sink. If he could find a way to freely travel through rift zones, he could easily farm treasures like a madman. Have been finally announced to the general public. In the meantime, everyone is banned from traveling to the UK. After reading about a real problem in the real world, Dojin lost interest in messing with the manager of the shop. In the past, no matter the country or which association was involved, he might have intervened to seal the rift himself. But he's not that guy anymore. He has more fulfilling matters to attend to tonight. Dinner is on Dojin, and they are getting expensive meat. Little Young's mouth watered at the sight of pork and beef, marbling over the grill the expensive meat, and succulent side dishes just kept on coming to the table, worried that they were spending too much given the price tag on the menu. Grandma slowed down and asked her grandson if this was okay. 250,000 won for 100 grams is pretty steep. Dojin dismissed her worries right away. After making a killing with his crystal harvest, they could eat as much as they wanted, and it wouldn't even make a dent in his bank account. Young's first bite made her fall in love with the taste of the wildly luxurious beef. Dojin continued adding more and more to the grill as Grandma watched in apprehension. Hell, there's another package of fresh ribs, prime ribeye strip loin, and skirt meat coming to the table soon. At this point, the scale is just ridiculous. How could 2.5 people even finish that much food? Well, Grandma is underestimating the appetite of a protagonist to knock her out of her worries. Little Young convinced Grandma to give the expensive stuff a try. Unable to refuse the offer of her sweet girl, Grandma caved. One bite of that expensive meat was all it took for all her worries to dissipate into nothing. Afterward, the happy family enjoyed their extravagant dinner, filled with smiles and laughter. Unbeknownst to Dojin, an attention-grabbing young woman just entered the restaurant. The next of the other guests almost broke wherever she passed by. The woman made a beeline towards SEO Dojin and decisively called his attention. She just wanted to talk with him for a moment. Nothing more, nothing less. Before she could elaborate on her reason, Dojin cut her off for interrupting his family's dinner. If she wants to say something to him, she should come back when the freaking meal is over. Hyunju pulled out the name card, hoping that the young man would change his tone upon her name. Much to his dismay, Dojin just kept on grilling and eating meat, disregarding her presence altogether, and patiently sat in the restaurant's waiting room. With a star like her sitting within normal people's vicinity, she naturally became the center of attention. Men and women kept stealing glances at the woman, standing at the pinnacle of heroism. She's not only fourth in the national rankings for S-class heroes, but most people would also even place her within the top 10 most beautiful heroes in the world list. Every civilian around was asking the same thing in their minds. Who the hell is making Hyun-Ju-Yeon wait? Ignoring the blatant whispers around her, Julianne recalled the brief interaction she had just a few minutes ago. As far as she knows, SEO Dojin entered his first gate 2 months ago. He made it out alive and is now under suspicion of becoming awakened. He was widely believed to have died in a recent Mapo Rift incident, but here he is alive and eating with his family. Aside from all the details that don't seem to make sense, a single sharp look from the young man had an S ranker like Julian on edge. A newly awakened guy cannot possibly reach S rank in under 2 months. Right, even the oil tycoon Calfmore, who spent his wealth on magic stones, took about 5 months to reach the peak. Rationalizing what she felt, Julian reckoned that Dojin must have some kind of unknown special ability finally. Dojin grandma and little Yin Yang have filled out with their bellies full and their mood lifted near the exit. Julian walked over to finally have a conversation with the mysterious young man before she could open her mouth to speak. Dojin's eyes turned sharper than usual at the sight of the man. This skivvy-looking bastard did not expect to see SEO Dojin alive and kicking after their excursion in one of the deadly gates. The lunatic Kong Chul-woo. He's actually quite amused by Daijun's cockroach-like resilience. Even Ju Yan seemed to recognize the troublemaker in a single glance. In the middle of the restaurant, tensions rose as silence filled the air. Daijun chose to ignore the bastard's shallow insults and called Ju Yan over Chihuahua, was taken aback to see an S-rank hero speaking with the cockroach. Dogen requested that she take care of his family for a little bit. All she has to do is flag a taxi so they can ride away and go home. It would be more convenient if they were far away, while he collects an overdue debt with a mongrel. Thankfully, Hyun-Ju-Yeon is a very reasonable young woman. She did what Dojin asked and assured Grandma and the little girl that everything would be fine. She waved at them goodbye, but their concern was evident. Ju-Yin awkwardly stood there as the taxi departed. As soon as they sped away from the restaurant, a resounding and crisp sound of slapping echoed inside the establishment. With his loved ones out of the picture, Dojin can finally drop the PG act and slap a bitch. He moved so fast that Chilu did not even see his swing. He only felt the stinging pain in his cheek. Embarrassed by such a humiliating attack, Chilu gritted his teeth and charged forth to retaliate. One of the servers tried to break the fight up, fearful that the Awakeners might destroy the whole restaurant if the conflict escalated further. Her reasonable request was met with unreasonable violence. Fortunately, she wasn't harmed too badly. SEO Dojin calmly told everyone to get out and clear the room for their safety. Chilwo is really easy to trigger. He's a muscle-brained idiot who can't even think of good trash talk. For that, he was punished with another strike to the face. He was completely caught off guard, feeling a knuckle make contact with his head. Kong Chil-woo is the bastard who locked the original SEO Dojin in a gate, leaving him for dead, even though he was not the one personally slighted. Our MC still harbors a deep resentment for this fuckface, and he wants to talk Shio Wu. The goblin-looking goon snickered as he brought up how that evil stepmother of Dojin's made the whole thing happen. Seeing that, extracting info from this idiot was a lot easier than he thought. Dojin pulled his phone out and pressed the record button on the video app. He just needs a clear and concise recording of the confession, and his life will be a lot simpler in the future. Once again, Chiol-woo was insulted by his nonchalance. He gathered power in his fist, called Dojin's mother a whore, and attacked with unmatched intensity. He intends to finish the job that he failed. He wants to kill SEO Dojin once and for all. Unfortunately for the big goon, his primitive attacks are no match against the expert manipulation of Chi. Dojin met the violent punch with a soft touch and sent the enemy's fist flying, as though it just hit an impenetrable, bouncy barrier. Kong Chul-woo had never experienced something like this before. Normally, he would just brute force his way through anything and everything to kill now. It seems like he's going up against someone far beyond what he can comprehend. with his tiny little pea brain. Suddenly he was pushed off his feet. Do-jun followed, his body's trajectory like a hunter playing with his prey. Sounds of fists cracking his skull echoed throughout the restaurant as the server from earlier tried her hardest to dial the police. Before she could press the call button, a dainty hand pulled the phone away. With a bright smile, Hyun-ju-yeon assured the server that she would take care of everything, so there was no need to involve the authorities. The server was just glad to see a comforting face. In the middle of her breakdown, slaps, scratches, and punches landed throughout Kang Chul-woo's body, not giving him any chance to catch his breath. As far as Jian knows, this lowlife is a B rank hero. With that rank, there are not many people who could beat him up so helplessly. Based on this beatdown, Dojin might be classified as an A rank. Well, even if that's true, the fight still seems a bit too one-sided. Before things could get any worse, Hyun-ju-yeon carefully called Dojin to stop for a moment. She's just worried that Kang Chi-woo might die if the beating goes on for longer. Deciding to listen to her words, he dropped the goblin goon's limp body on the ground and wiped his hands. Seeing as there's clearly some vendetta between the two, Ji-young asked the young man how much he knows about Kang Chul-woo. Do-jin might not know the whole picture, but he knows enough about the bastard to exact vengeance. Hyun-ji-young warned him that this piece of dirt, Kang Chul-woo, is connected to Kang Yong-pyo, an S-rank hero well. Do-jin already knew that fact, and he didn't see any problems. Ji-young had never met anyone so reckless and insane. This dude doesn't even care about whatever consequences he might face at the hands of an S-ranker. Hyun-ji-young elaborated that Kang Yong-pyo is very protective of his delinquent cousin. This restaurant incident will surely reach the ears of that powerhouse. When that happens, blood will be spilled. Do-jin scoffed at Ju-yeon's worries. He's the last person who would be afraid of some hotshot S-ranker, more than the problems for the future. He's more annoyed at the fact that Ju-yeon knows so much about his life. Now that the goblin goon is down, Dojin's enmity has transferred to the nosy S-ranker. Face to face, the feral young man stared her down. Hyun-ju-yeon was not a pushover by any means. She won't cave from a simple, intimidating eye contact. Changing the subject, she apologized for the sudden visit and brought up her agenda. She was just asked by her uncle to come by and talk, after she found out about the bag of heroes magic crystals he sold off. Juin wanted to get her hands on the rest. She is willing to buy every piece he has, no matter the price. Dojin warned her that it won't be cheap. He has a lot of precious treasure stockpiled. After all, she assured him that the assets of an established S-rank hero are beyond normal people's imagination. Well, it's not like he's opposed to selling his goods. He just has one condition before transacting. It's nothing much really. Just a little favor, at least for someone as renowned as Hyun-ju-yeon, that is elsewhere in the city. The sound of expensive alcohol bottles hitting the floor can be heard. Dojin's evil stepmother is crashing out upon learning new information about his allegedly dead stepson. Her people were so sure that the kid died in the rift. Yet now she's receiving word about how the Dojin survived, like a resilient cockroach. Press F for bald man. Here, having a boss like her can't possibly be fun. You can't blame him for the misinformation. Even the Hero Association labeled Dojin dead. Evil stepmother doesn't want to hear excuses. She wants actions instead, to make things worse. They just received news about Kang Chul-woo's defeat at the hands of Do-jin at this point. It's safe to assume that SEO, Do-jin, already knows who's really responsible for his attempted murder. Hearing that she might be implicated, evil stepmom gulped in terror. She's not afraid of Dojin. She's more concerned about the hassle it will bring. When her father or husband finds out about her dealings, she can cover everything up. But if word gets out to the media, the group's stock price will nosedive. So she ordered her people to intercept the media. If they mess up, T Group and W Group will surely cut all deals and advertisements. First and foremost, the police must also be on their payroll. In that regard, evil stepmom's people have already moved to cover all bases, knowing that they have a little bit of competence. Lifted some pressure off her shoulders. Bald director Lee then whispered that, no matter how many cover-up jobs they do, what they are doing is not a fundamental solution to the real problem. On that note, the bald director might have a plan that can put an end to this headache. They just have to make use of Kang Chul-woo's cousin. the infamous Kong Young-pu. Even someone like Stepmom here knows about the S-ranker. Kong Chi-yu might be notorious as trash in the world of heroes, but everyone knows how close he is to his powerful cousin. In reality, Kong Chi-yu is just a pawn, doing all sorts of dirty work under his cousin's orders. They are both sick in the head. If Chilwa gets pinched by the police and smeared by the media, it won't be a good look for the S-rank hero too. In fact, he's already taken action to deal with this public relations disaster. Evil stepmom made up her mind. She wants to meet with Kong Young-pyo as soon as possible. In addition, that dog, Huang Chong-sub of HCS Capital, has blatantly allied with the enemy. He's taking care of Du Jin's family. Now, for that, stepmom wants a prosecutor on the phone in a minute. Those who abandon her camp must pay the price in full. The very next day, we follow a group of heroes entering one of the 37 rift zones in Korea. Among those rift zones, 5 zones are being turned into secured gates. The rest can only be raided by heroes affiliated with hero associations, with coordinated schedules. Today, Miss Hyunju Yen is leading a team herself. With her S-rank ID, she has practically limitless entries at any gate among the diverse crowd of heroes. Equipped with fancy equipment and weapons stood a young man wearing a beat-up hoodie. Hyunju Yan chose a ranked Jongin Ju's Clio Guild as a temporary group for the hunt. It's very rare to be a part of an S-ranks hunt, so they are hyped. Ju-young reasoned that she simply wanted to do something fun and stretch her muscles a little bit. In reality, she had to set up this whole situation just to give the young man in the back clean entry to the gate. SEO Du Jin agreed to sell the rest of his magic crystal stockpile at market price to Ju Yen if she led him into the restricted rift zone. He just wants to earn more money by hunting in higher level zones. While it's true that rift zones house all sorts of treasures, going into such a difficult one for a certain profit without fear is just insane. Well, she doesn't really care either way. She just needs to get her hands on those hero magic crystals. After a few minutes of traversing a dark tunnel, the group finally came out of the other side to a brightly wooded area, unable to rear her curiosity. Inju started bugging Juin about the real identity of the young man. Shadowing their party, Juin just introduced Dojin as someone she knows, but no one is buying that half-assed answer. Inju speculated that he might be Queen Juin's boyfriend. Tired of all the buzzing, she gave Inju a partial truth and confessed that the young man was there because she owed him a favor. It's not every day an S-rank hero owes someone. While the party was lost in their respective conversations, a giant shadow blotted the sun from above. Everybody turned their eyes to the skies and saw the beast. Being in a rank guild, the Clio heroes instantly responded by drawing their weapons and getting into their respective positions. The first encounter was none other than the fearsome cockatrices, like the expert raider that she is. Ju Yin took charge and barked clear and concise orders. Jin Ju and Du Yin are in charge of defense, while Song Ho aims for the legs. Before she could finish assigning everyone their roles, a figure blurred as he shot past everyone with a single impactful leap. He closed the aerial gap between him and the flying beast. SEO Du Jun disregarded the long-winded group plans and leaped for a one-on-one with the bird, gathering energy in his fist. Prior to his charge, Guildmaster Inju is stressing over her bad luck. They are barely inside the gate, and a troublesome opponent has already shown itself. Before the group could organize and get into position, Du Jin had already dropped his bag to the ground, while Ju Yan was calling the shots. He was bursting through the air like a speeding bullet. He was an absolute speed demon. In one jump, he neutralized the bird's aerial advantage. The overgrown chicken did not have the speed or reaction time to block the incoming attack. As a result, it was forced to eat a full-powered punch to the beak. The bird is on the ground, and the human is up in the clouds. It was quite a poetic reversal. Dojin landed in front of the group. He did not even break a single bead of sweat. The cockatrice is on the verge of death, the mark of his fist visible on the side of his face. The Cleum Guild people stood dumbfounded alongside their S-rank carry. They bore witness to the brutality of what happened next. Dojin lifted his leg and started stomping on the bird's head until it was reduced to meat paste. It might seem too much, But killing a cockatrice requires a lot of force, with every stomp and kick. The sound of skull cracking and blood spurting mortified the group. Now Inju is really curious as to who that guy is. In all honesty, Jian wasn't really sure herself. All she knows is that SEO Doujin is a really strong human. While calling him simply strong is a huge understatement. There are only a select few heroes who can do what Doujin just did. Killing a cockatrice in one blow is no ordinary feat. Juyin downplayed the achievement by bringing up her sister. That woman belongs to that elite list of outstanding heroes. Still, Inju can't just get over the fact that a hidden powerhouse is among them. She watched the entire sequence and was in awe the whole time, her curiosity deepening. She turned to Inju with an impromptu change of plans. For now, she wants to go to the center with Doujin, leaving the rest of the group on the outskirts. Zhu Yin carefully approached the young man, expertly carving the cockatrice's corpse for loot. Before she could speak, he preemptively asserted that he wouldn't share loot with people who contributed nothing to the kill. Thankfully, Julian is not one to buy a few pieces of magic crystals. She just came over to propose that they go a bit deeper into the gate, head somewhere more challenging and fitting to his current abilities. With a smile, he readily accepted the invitation to hunt and loot more. Zhu Yuan knows the layout of this gate quite well. Without warning, she sped off into the distance, her speed causing a sonic boom. Doujin calmly watched as her figure vanished into the horizon. After slinging his bag to his back, he took a running pose, storing energy in his muscles. Inju reckoned that if Zhu Yan is a bullet, then that man moves like light itself. Left by the two powerhouses, the miscellaneous heroes turned to their guild leader for their new plan. Of course, trying to follow those two ahead is utterly impossible today. They must accept that they're sidekicks and small fries. Nevertheless, this is still a decent gate, with plenty of monsters to hunt around the outskirts. In the outside world, normal people praise them as powerful or rank heroes, but in front of a real S-ranker, they are not even worth mentioning. Zhu Yin and that man are leagues above the entire force of Clio Guild. Speaking of those two, their race across the woods is proceeding hastily, while maintaining breakneck speeds without much effort. Zhu Yin kept on checking her flank for signs of Doujin. Upon seeing no signs of the guy, she started softening up, and thinking that she might have overdone the initial run. While she was thinking of slowing down, Doujin suddenly appeared by her side, asking if they could go a little faster. Juin's concentration broke, and she almost tripped over. She had never experienced something like this before. Someone can actually keep up with her in terms of racing. When it comes to speed, she's in the top 2 in the nation. But that list might need to be updated, given how Doujin is making her eat dust. A few moments later, he made a stop to tease her for being slower than expected, when she was clearly running to flex her speed. While the S-ranker caught her breath, Doujin turned his eyes onto the view on the horizon. In front of them was a massive mountain range touching the heavens. When asked what was hiding inside that rocky range, Zhu Yan's expression turned solemn. That place is the lair of the Thrift's boss monster, the Caesarian you see. This so-called Caesarian is a giant 20-meter monster, resembling the draconian wyvern. Zhu Yuan doesn't even want to entertain the idea of subjugating that beast. You typically need at least 3 combat-oriented S-rank heroes to even stand a chance against such a monster. One thing Doujin knows about Caesarian is that it has a chance to drop the imaginary grade, magic crystal, a treasure just below the highest grade possible. Since such an enticing reward is waiting for him, he won't let it slip through his fingers. Obviously, Juin is opposed to such a reckless idea. Well, SEO Doujin is fighting that draconic bastard with or without her. Juyan watched as he fearlessly sped up, aiming to scale the mountains to slay the beast. She felt as though she did not have a choice but to follow him into insanity. Something grim awaits the duo inside the boss monster's lair, bursting with unfathomable confidence to take down a beast that easily gives 3 S-rank heroes trouble. It really shakes Julian to her core. Do you know what's even more shocking? When she arrives at the site, she finds the same creature, the Caesarian, dead at her feet. The fight's already over, and she has absolutely no idea what the hell went down. Our boy casually plucks his knife from the creature's corpse. leaving her at a loss for words. Juin reflects her shock. The creature he just downed isn't just any boss monster. On that note, she talks about a prominent hero known as Parkale, who fostered a reputation for hunting down monsters. Like the Caesarians, though he's an S rank himself, the first time he went to hunt down the Caesarian, he was cautious enough to take 30 A-rank heroes along with him. And yet, even with all those precautions, the A-rank heroes didn't make the cut, and were all slaughtered in the attempt. Parkale was the only known survivor of the group, who clung to the edge of his life by the end of the boss fight. From that moment onwards, the guy decided to rematch with the same monster. Only this time, he was armed with one more S rank and 100 rank heroes behind him. It's practically a small army at that point. The fight was brutal. They focused on piercing the creature's wings and negating its flight. The Caesarian of the time was then overwhelmed by a barrage of attacks from the heroes. This actually reminds me of the whole 100 men versus 1 gorilla debate that has been going around lately. My money is on the men, by the way. And the same is the outcome for the fight with the Caesarian, who ended up getting defeated. The rest butchered by the beast's wrath. The damages they incurred that day were so prominent that Hale's guild, the Sweet Life, has yet to recover from it 3 years after the event. And yet this one average-looking Joe has defeated the same Caesarian monster without much trouble. The funny thing is with her constant glaring. He reminds her that she ain't getting any of these precious gems for standing around fighting the air. The remark may have annoyed her. But Julian is more focused on the ridiculousness of the man. Before her eyes, if she wasn't there to witness the battle, she would never believe in such a conclusion. The same terrifying Caesarian was taken down and obliterated in a single strike at the hands of one man. As for Dojin, my boy has successfully harvested the awesome-looking magic stone. From the creature's body, he stares at it and tells her that he no longer cares about having an escort to guide him. From this point onwards, he's fine on his own. He also denies taking the rest of the valuables obtained by the dragon's body, such as its claws and teeth, showing little to no regard for them. He turns back to reject her, plainly leaving the S ranker stunned for life. Instead, he'd rather focus his energy on collecting the monster crystals. He even goes as far as to allow her to keep all of those valuables to herself as a form of payment. Ju Yuan takes a look at the creature for a moment and reaches the conclusion that she also doesn't need anything from a beast. It's evening now, and the rest of his group is shocked. That one guy managed to collect 3 bags full of magic stones. It's an unbelievable sight, even for the competent or rankers. For their guild to have obtained the same amount, it would have taken them a minimum of 20 hours, and from the quality of the ingredients, even more than 3 days. It begs the question about the man's identity, and they're all staring down at Ju Yuan, who brought him along in the first place, and yet appears just as confused as them. Based off of Juin's own words, the A-rank guild master can't fathom how Dojin was able to beat the Caesarian without any proper equipment. With this accomplishment alone, he stands at the top of the hero ranks in Korea, unparalleled in his might. They really just said our boy is built differently. The A-ranker even thinks that he might be the strongest in the entire world. At his level, it amazes her. Speaking of the guy, an exhausted Dojin returns with more bags on him. With just 1 day of hunting, he's already collected so much stuff. At this point, the group is starting to think that no one will believe them if they reported this to the outside world. Dojin's godlike power is the definition of insanity to accept. Speaking of which, they're explicitly told not to drop a word of what happened here today. In the outside world, something they have to ultimately accept. The gorgeous S ranker walks up to our boy and talks about a bunch of things. From a distance, it looks like they're a couple who is flirting with each other, but that's only in the eyes of their group mates. I guess they're trying to convince themselves that this is the start of ship. A rank guild master quickly realizes that these guys aren't the perfect couple she envisioned them to be. Instead, it seems like they're having an argument from the looks on their faces. She can't believe that there's a guy in the world with the ability to talk down to Ju Yen. Of all people, the shocking thing is, how do June hands her a bag and leaves quietly without saying another word. It astonishes the guild master even more. As for the state of the backpacks and the contents inside he collected, June states his own words. Turns out that Dojin fears the possibility that he'll become an overnight celebrity if the outside world learns that he killed the Khazarian, since that is a clear issue for him. He drops the responsibility of it upon her shoulders. Hearing his decision, it leaves the both of them baffled for words. But the irony in all of this is that the law of manifestation ends up turning true, and Juyeon gives birth to a curiosity to explore more about this mysterious young man. Girl is in love over to a different location. We get to explore more about the famous S. Ranker mentioned earlier as Hale. He's out here going beast mode on his punching bag. His assistant is in awe of his training because it seems like he's bursting out in rage. As mentioned before, he's the guild master of Sweet Life. The assistant helps him calm down, reminding him that a little bit of endurance will help him go a long way. In these difficult times, even the guild master agrees with that idea, believing that those who underestimate him will eventually suffer his wrath. And before long, there will come a time where everyone will be admiring his strength as the most powerful guild master. His assistant goes on to bring up all streak of hunting down Khazarians, which sets him apart from others, even going as far as to say that his name will be etched in the history books as the hero who defeated the Khazarian with the smallest squad. The funny thing is, that title will never be overtaken from Dojin by anyone, unless Stephen Hawking steps out of the grave and pulls a miracle. The guild master shares his enthusiasm with the assistant, going on and on about his own achievements. At the same time, their guild has been suffering major losses, compared to what it was 3 years back. And yet the only thing that gives him a smile is the knowledge that he's the only one capable of best, defeating the Khazarian, a fact seconded by his one-eyed servant. On topic of discussing high-ranking heroes, the scene switches to Kang Youngpyo's office, who is currently reading a report on Do Jin's eventful evening with Cheol Woo and how he annihilated Youngpyo's cousin. Even though Cheol Woo's intentions were to lock the guy inside the gate and trap him for good, a plot twist happened, resulting in an awakening. Also, the client that has tasked them to take down Dojin is actually the executive director, Hong Hee-ju, who is basically at the top of the wealthiest people in Korea. It doesn't make sense for her to single out a person as her target in front of Young Pyo's eyes. That's until he learns that Dojin is actually her stepson. This fact makes Young Pyo amused, as he points out that not even being wealthy can save you from being kicked out. Discussing the payment for the hit, he learns that they're being given 3 billion won for the job, which is tiny in front of him. And then there's the fact that Cheol Woo finds himself at the edge of his own life from his battle against Dojin, suffering numerous burns and bruises. What's even worse is that he completely lost his sight and has become a cripple for life too. It only adds to the ruthlessness of Dajun's measures, to the point even a guy like Young Pyo has to acknowledge his actions. And yet Young Pyo takes delight in the fact that he would have made sure to chop his limbs off, on top of smashing his skull. At first glance, you guys probably were thinking that he's saner than his cousin, but now it's clear why he's even worse. While discussing the scene of their battle, it is brought up that Juyeon was also there, and allegedly helped out Dojin in some way. This actually surprises him, and he probes for more information about the situation. He doesn't get what's so special about Dojin. Unfortunately not. Even his assistant knows anything specific about the meeting between the two, as the case was quietly shut down. Pissed the fudge off Youngpyo, grabs his servant and roars at him to do whatever he can to uncover the status of their relationship, suspecting that they may have formed a deal of some kind. The assistant, completely devastated by his reaction, runs away to investigate right at once. Youngpyo is left with a temper tantrum, smashing things around, reflecting that Hee-ju's men will come looking for him to fulfill the job that his cousin failed to do. At the same time, he's more than happy to take on the job from her. After all, she's a wealthy woman with Andrew Tate's level of money, so it won't be an issue for the greedy scumbag. And now for the scene with our boy, who is returning home after the raid. From today's experience, He's more than glad to have spent his time in a rift, rather than a gate for proper hunting. It also complicates things, because he might have to form a long relationship with Julian to ensure he stays on the low. Recalling their conversation, she straight up told him that people will become wary of her and ask around for the identity of the person who killed the Khazarian. Revealing them means inviting a lot of trouble. So for now, her plan was to store the valuables. And if he does want to become famous, she can happily reveal their existence to the world. In response, Bro chucked the bag to her to keep all the good stuff. It also means he's got to look for another method to go on and enter the rift zones, because relying on Ju Yuan creates trouble for her. Still, tonight's sleep will be a good one, as he'll get to rest in a luxurious house that Chang Seo arranged for him. But as he steps foot inside the house, he's alarmed by the many shoes right outside. This means some unexpected guests have arrived, having a conversation with his loved ones. The guy looks like a more depressed version of Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen, and he's just staring Du Jin down like an eagle. Yin Young comes rushing to greet her brother with happiness, while Du Jin is baffled by the situation overall. Prosecutor Park Chae-hyung makes his identity loud and clear, pointing out the connection between Du Jin and Chang Soo because of his relationship with the guy. Dojin is placed in an immediate emergency arrest on behalf of partaking in the money lending organization that is run by the corrupt CEO of HCS Capital.